Welcome to my man's beauty blog, where I talk about how not to get bored in your garage, so today my S.T.A.L.K.E.R car should be ready to drive. After the engine overhaul, after I installed a small motorcycle carburetor, after everything I did for it. So this is my first time driving it, and now I'm driving in third gear and everything seems to be okay, but there are some jerks when I step on the gas. I can't understand what is causing it. Maybe there is something wrong with the ignition system? I don't know. The engine sound is quite good, but this type of tinted film is making me nuts, very uncomfortable. However, in general, I like this classic car. It's nice. The first gear doesn't go in right away, but that's fine for most manual transmissions. Here, right now, it was jerking in second gear. Maybe the clutch disc is slipping. The engine isn't roaring much, the noise level is okay, or I'm used to it and the interior seems to be noiseless. However, the suspension is still stiff. It became a little softer, but it is still not comfortable enough. The brakes are good as they can be in a car that doesn't have a vacuum booster and has brake drums in front. The shock absorbers need to be replaced for something better. But if the road is smooth enough, then you can just relax and take your time. You can even drive like this if you want. If I have enough patience, I will install a vacuum booster here. I'm not sure it will happen, and the gear shifter needs to be adjusted a little for certain. A few minutes ago we passed a van coming the opposite way, and its driver was so excited to see such a retro car on the road. Especially considering the car is well painted, it looks really good for its years, and it's really encouraging when your car stands out in traffic, when other drivers and passers-by have a moment to look at your car and smile. By doing a lot of work in your garage, you can give people a small portion of good emotions. Okay, the brakes need a little tinkering. It's very important with this old machine. These brake cylinders have a piston inside, and this piston has to be screwed into a spring-loaded bushing. After you have reassembled and reinstalled them, you have to twist them so they engage with that bushing, and then push the cylinders all the way down. And after that you need to unscrew this piston for about one turn. I made this mistake and the front brakes didn't work properly. I felt the smell of the brakes. If you don't adjust these pistons properly, you will have burned brake shoes. Hence, be careful. There is the simplest way to bleed brakes. First, I take a cap from a brake fluid container and combine it with a bicycle valve stem to create an improvised pressure device. This allows me to add low pressure from a compressor to the system. Next, I attach a drain tube to the wheel cylinder and unscrew the bleeder valve while maintaining pressure from the compressor in the brake system. Then I wait until all the air bubbles escape and clean brake fluid begins to flow. Throughout this process, it's crucial to monitor the brake fluid level in the expansion tank to prevent it from running dry. So this is how my overhauled engine works. Also, I added some noise deadening to the hood. I decided to spruce up my car a little, so I started from the trunk.
in school, mocked by car loving raised, drawing Mustangs through my high school days. Teen years hit, still a bit of a loner.
After I clean it up a little, I'm making an anti-corrosion treatment. The cheapest and the most effective way to do this is to use waste oil. It penetrates into the deepest and smallest pores and prevents metal from rust for a long time. In this case, this place attracts moisture from the cargo we carry here, or atmospheric conditions can be the cause of moisture accumulation as well. As you can see, it was treated previously with some kind of bitumen substance, I believe. But despite this, it didn't prevent a puddle of water and rusty spots from appearing here. All these fancy anti-corrosion coatings sometimes can dry out, scale off, and then water can get underneath this layer. I'm applying waste oil here, then I will put a rubber mat here, and I won't care what happens here. I'll be sure that no new life in form of fungi or rust will develop here. Maybe aesthetically someone may not like it, but I prefer strong metal without rust. By the way, it fades quickly and leaves no odor. It would be great to treat the car body underneath. Maybe I will do this. Oh, and it's necessary to coat this place under the battery.
Hey, Mustang, oh my, rusty but so fine. Right through every mile with that vintage style, crew dusting right. Mustang, oh my, rusty but so fine. Cruising back in time, just me and the road, oh Mustang, oh my.
Then it was time to buy parts for the LPG conversion kit. I was afraid of it, but I did it. Yes, this is an LPG cylinder, and I have already bought the reducer for it. Look at that! It seems like it was meant to be here. The car started to look better, and the front suspension will be loaded a little, which is good. I can move the battery to the rear, but I reckon it will feel good in the front, as it was originally. It shouldn't interfere with the cylinder. And here is the LPG reducer. It's new and shiny, so it should work nicely and for a long time without any issues. I bought this one because it's easy to tune it properly and it stays stable for quite a while. Inside we have instructions and a warranty certificate. This is a cover for the multi-valve unit, which is installed on the LPG tank. Also, I have some useful bits and pieces, LPG and gasoline valves, a restrictor, a switch, and finally all the kit parts are gathered together, including the multi-valve. The electric scheme is quite simple, everything is straightforward, but I can't understand what this button is for. I definitely need to read the manual. It says this is a start button. I am not too familiar with this kind of system, so I beg your pardon. Fuel valves. It's very easy, but the LPG valve is interesting. I bought a plastic gas line. It's much easier to route through the car instead of a copper one. If I'm correct, it also will be better because in the copper one, corrosive deposits could build up. Those deposits usually clog this LPG filter. All the feedback I heard about these plasticky tubes is really good. It's so strong that you can even smash it with a hammer and it won't get damaged. Hence, safety first. At the first glance, it may seem unserious for such a task as holding LPG under high pressure, but I may rest assured it's not. Especially considering it was made in Italy by Faro, makes me relax a little. Also, I like this system because it's so easy to work with fittings and connectors. Look at these! These are spaceship quality connectors made out of brass. Maybe it's too nerdy, but I'm excited about their machining quality. Or maybe I have just been working with old cars for too long. So gas comes into the reducer here. In order not to make a lot of connections, the seller advised me to buy such a small connector. He said it's called a reverse connector for some reason. You just screw it into the intake and then attach this valve with the filter. After that, the main line goes from the gas cylinder. It turns out quite compact. Also, I have a refuel valve, nothing interesting here. This is the output from the reducer with low pressure gas that goes to the carburetor. It is about 18 mm in diameter, so it needs a quite thick hose here. I bought this length of 18 mm hose, then this restrictor goes here. I call it a grid screw. And this restrictor has a 12 mm output, so I will route this nice and small hose to the carburetor. For the reducer heating, I took 1.5 meter of hose specifically designed for cooling systems. You may ask where on earth I will find coolant in the air-cooled engine. Reasonable question. I will show you my solution in the next episodes. By the way, when I overhauled the engine, I increased the compression ratio up to 10 or 11, so the engine should run well with this LPG system. The next task we need to address is how to connect the output of the reducer to the carburetor. Even more, before the carburetor. Let me explain. As you may know, I installed a motorcycle carburetor on this car. I need to add a venturi tube before the carburetor, but there are no such adapters on the market, so I need to come up with a temporary solution. I decided to use a big rubber hose to put this venturi adapter inside of it. The input tube sticks out from this hose. I'm adding this venturi device inside and fastening this tube through the rubber hose. Then I will add some hoses to match the diameter of my carburetor and filter. This way I will be able to embed this element between the air filter and carburetor. So I think it should work well, and it will show me if this idea is worth all the hassle. Ideally, in a perfect world, it would be better to make an insert into the diffuser, but I reckon it's impossible to implement this method into the motorcycle carburetor. I would like to discuss this whole LPG setup with experienced people, but they will stop talking to me as soon as they hear which car I want to install it in. This plane where the multi-valve installs isn't flat, it has some paint scale, so I need to grind it a little. 16 bars of pressure isn't a joke, so every connection should be tight. However, concerning safety, it is needed to mention that this LPG system isn't that dangerous as CNG one, where pressure goes up to 200 bar. Oh, and I need to tap the threads a little, because they are put with paint as well.
Hey, Mustang, oh my, rusty but so fine, right through every mile with a vintage style, cool dust and ride. Mustang, oh my, rusty but so fine, cruising back in time, just me and the road, oh Mustang, oh my.
Okay, see you under the hood.